Hey, hope everybody's having a good weekend here. Excuse me, it's already up to Saturday, and we've got a pretty photogenic sky out tonight. You can see Venus out there on the left side. And it's mild out there. We've had temperatures come up a bit, and I'm still having to run the air conditioner, unfortunately. But we're going to see a change and gradually get away from that. All right. Yeah, I can see here in chat the audio sounds good. Glad to hear that. Here's what's going on across the country. We haven't looked at the drought monitor very much, but there's a big drought problem there in the southeast U.S. around Atlanta, Chattanooga, and Birmingham, and there's been some fires out that way. This is the Aqua and Terra satellite imagery. Some very dense plumes of smoke there over the Blue Ridge Mountains and basically all over the southern Appalachians, and some of that smoke being carried all the way to Mississippi. I did run across one interesting thing in the news here with these fires up here in Kentucky. There was a Facebook, kind of like a weather guy on Facebook, who was posting images of these fires, and he got some good shots of those fires in Kentucky. Turns out he got hauled in by the police for allegedly setting those off. He's got 1,800 followers there, so he's or friends. So a little bit of a controversy there, I guess. But anyway, for some reason, I'm not friended with him, and I've never heard of the guy. But I guess he's got a lot of folks out where he is. Elsewhere around the southern U.S., fires up in Fannin County, 13,000 acres consumed there, a third of one of the national forests, or I'm not sure if it's a national forest. One of the forests in one of the counties, they've counted about a third of it burned down, so that's some pretty serious stuff there. And that's all because of that high pressure, that ridge. Let me figure out where that chart is. Yeah, we've had a series of very dry, high-pressure areas sinking southward across the southeast U.S., and that brings with it some dry air. And that's been kind of a trend over the past, or a pattern over the past 2 or 3 weeks, and it's hard to get precip when all your systems are going to the north, like they've been doing. So these highs here in the southeast U.S. are kind of blocking the progression of these cold air masses and keeping a lot of the baroclinicity up north. So let's run through the charts and position the fronts. Remember, we're looking at thickness here. The thickness is the red and the blue, and the isobars are black. Now you might wonder why we have red and blue thickness lines. Well, the blue is climatologically associated with winter weather. Generally, when we get under 540 decameters, that's when we start getting an air mass that is deep and cool enough to support winter weather. So that 540 line is going to be right in here. So still up in Canada, but we're going to see a major change with that over the next several days. So you probably recognize warm air advection pattern over Ontario there, and a weak cool advection pattern over Alberta. And we've got a new front coming onshore here in the Pacific. This cold air advection here is a bit of an Alberta clipper coming south. I'm not exactly sure where that would be, maybe here, maybe a little further south, but anyway, that's weak and it's coming south, and then there's going to be a little bit of a warm front associated with that also. And that's about all we have here in the United States, a very quiet, tranquil pattern. Quick look at the AWIPS. Let me bring up AWIPS here. And let's see, 500 millibar vorticity chart. Looking at the U.S., kind of like this. Okay, so what kind of pattern do we have? We've got kind of a very broad long wave ridge across the central U.S. Access to that is probably right around here. And that's being deformed a little bit by this trough, the smaller scale trough in Georgia. Hang on a second, I need to back that up a little bit. There we go. Anyway, there we go. Long wave ridge across the central U.S. right there, and a little trough working through the flow right there. That's associated with the last outbreak of cold air in the eastern U.S. And a very strong shortwave coming through Washington and Oregon right now. And usually when those come up the backside of ridges like this, of long wave ridges, we see these small scale troughs start to flatten out. So we should see the amplitude of that trough kind of weaken a little bit as it rides over the ridge. Yeah, see, there we go. But it's still there. We can see in the vorticity patterns this whole area of generally higher vorticity that outlines where the trough is. And we see that work over the top of the ridge and start moving into the Great Lakes area by Monday. So that'll probably be the next weather system for the northeast U.S. and kind of weak there. And then it's probably going to be quiet until Wednesday or Thursday. So let's see what's coming up for next week. This is the GFS thickness and pressure forecast, surface pressures. And I just showed you kind of a weak frontal system up here. Yeah, there it is right there, coming down south, kind of an Alberta clipper. And over the weekend, let's see here, moving forward, high pressure staying parked over Georgia, keeping things kind of dry there. Then for Monday, get another Alberta clipper coming in. And that's linked up to a Pacific system coming on shore right there. And that's going to be the next big weather change for next week. And here it comes. By Wednesday, it's working through the Rockies. See these thickness lines, how they're very packed through Northern California into Salt Lake City and Wyoming. Leading edge is roughly like that. So that's where we're going to find the surface front on Wednesday afternoon. And that will be a pretty strong front coming in. I'm not seeing very much moisture lurking off the Texas coast. Usually when these systems are coming out of the Rockies like that, I'm looking upstream at the moisture pattern for stuff coming out of the Gulf. Because if we have enough of that moisture, that's what's going to feed thunderstorm activity. Okay, then moving forward, let's see. System coming out of the Rockies on Friday. And there it is right there. So now we're starting to get a little bit of moisture here. This is a relative humidity chart, so this is not really showing this very well. I could pull up the precipitable water, and maybe I'll do that before we go, and we'll see just how much moisture is involved here. We may have a dry line also, maybe out in this area. So without looking at the charts, I can't really tell you for sure how this is going to play out. But by Friday midday, it's going to look like this. So Friday is going to be the big active day across Texas and much of the southern plains. And then things move into the Midwest on Saturday. So there it is right there. And you can see behind the system some very cold air coming in the backside. 540 line. Now it's coming out of Canada and all the way down to Oklahoma and Arkansas. So if we have any wraparound moisture back in here, basically anything west of that line, like in here, is likely to be snow or freezing rain or sleet, one of those three. Then coming up for Saturday and Sunday, looks like eastern U.S. picks up this system. A lot of the cold air comes out the backside into Chicago and Illinois. So kind of a blustery day there on Monday. And then we start getting into a moderating trend after the weekend. And not much else to look at on the chart. Maybe a weak weather system coming into Texas on around Thanksgiving, but that's pretty far out there. And I'll show you one interesting chart. We looked at these a few days ago, the Mediagrams. I'm going to bring this back all the way to Thursday, and we'll take a look at Salt Lake City right here. You can see the front about to hit Salt Lake City. So what does a Mediagram look like on that day? This website, by the way, is located right here. It's wxmaps.org/pics/mediagrams.html. So Mediagram for Salt Lake City is going to look like this. So basically, this is going forward in time, left to right. So we start out with very warm conditions at the surface. Southeast winds here for the next several days. And then we start picking up this northerly wind overnight from the 17th through 18th. And then it becomes, pretty strong north wind. And the freezing levels drop from like 12,000 all the way down to 6,000 or 7,000 feet. Very unstable air coming in. So, 18th and 19th systems will be coming through there. Let's look at Oklahoma City very quick. Here you can see the strong northwesterly winds behind the front, 25 to 30 knots. So things will be pretty blustery here on the 19th or the 20th. That's going to be over the weekend, about a week from now. And freezing level all the way down to 4,000, 3,000 feet. So this is a pretty cold air mass here. So anyway, you can head to that site and check out some of these charts and look at them for your area. And even if you're down in Brownsville, you can look at a chart also. And it looks like even they get some of the cold air too here on the 20th through 21st. So that's a pretty neat site for looking at things three-dimensionally. All right, I think that's about all I got, and let me fix something up here very quickly. I was going to try to fade these out with a little bit of music so it's not so abrupt when I cut things off. See if our music is going. Yeah, anyway, hopefully that's working. Anyway, I appreciate you watching, and we'll see you at the same time tomorrow.